your situation that you're in.
I love how you said it stops the spinning thoughts too, to just become aware of like our sensory input in our physical bodies. It really does help to stop the spinning thoughts. I was thinking too about how you said you can do it inside or outside. And I think that's really important right now because a lot of people are spending a lot more time inside. And one of my biggest feedbacks that I get from people at the farm when we do that is, okay, but here there's so much to see and smell and touch and feel. But you know, when I'm in school, how can I do this? But you really can do it anywhere. And so I was just kind of thinking more about like getting outside too and the value of like vitamin D from some sunshine. That's an antidepressant essentially, in the dirt, right? So if you're gardening, don't wear gloves, get your hands dirty, get some dirt under your fingernails, go barefoot if it's warm and you can. There are antidepressant bacteria in the dirt essentially. Go look it up. It's some crazy stuff. But it's okay to get outside and get dirty too. And I would really encourage just that fresh air and dirt and sunshine really do wonders for our soul. We were created to be outside, and so much of our life is spent inside. And especially when something like this happens and we're told to kind of stay home and just be couch superheroes watching Netflix while we save the world by staying in. Those are good things, but it's okay to get outside and get some fresh air and do things that are good for you too. So, any other thoughts, guys? I do have a really good question that somebody had posted on our Facebook page, but if you had other thoughts, let's share that first.
I think I'm good to go right into the question, honestly.
Okay.
I think we covered it pretty well.
Yeah. So the question was essentially, how do I know when to connect with others to help with my self-regulation? So kind of building on that, I think for so many of us, whether it's because we've experienced trauma or codependent relationships in our family, or just having a hard time making new friends, or whatever it is, there's a lot of reasons why self-regulation is really hard. And maybe we've come to depend on others to regulate us, which is called co-regulation. And so kind of how do I know, like, what is a healthy boundary between I need to regulate myself and I also am not meant to live as an island and to be alone, you know, made for connection. So I don't know if you guys want to share a little bit about that. And yeah.
Well, I think it's important to be able to self-regulate. So being able to regulate on your own, not completely necessarily, but, you know, whether it be trying a few of the things that we mentioned, and, you know, some of that works and helps us to regulate and to de-stress and to feel more at peace. Yeah, I think, you know, we, excuse me, we were made for connection. Connection's vital. And right now it can be really hard to connect with other people because the only way might be, you know, through a phone call or, you know, even a video chat or something like that. But even doing something as simple as that can help us to connect and to have, again, that sense of normalcy and to just be able to regulate, just because we're sharing and we're getting stuff out maybe that we held in all day because we couldn't talk to anyone about it. So those are some of my thoughts on that.
Yeah, and I think it's important to kind of draw back to the quote that you had read earlier too, Dana, that this isn't, you know, this is a pandemic. This is new to all of us. So it's okay if it doesn't quite look the way that it does normally, right? So maybe you're typically a pretty independent person. You find that you don't really need people, or you don't need conversation as often, right? So maybe you, before all of what's going on in the world was happening, you were a once a week kind of person, or maybe once every couple of months you could check in, as far as like intentional phone calls, right? And it's okay if you find that you need that a little bit more, and it's okay if you find that you need it a little less than what you were before. Everybody, I think, is kind of trying to find a new temporary normal. Hopefully this is temporary. So again, just like Dean said, it's okay to have grace with yourself. And I would encourage you to have grace with the people who might reach out to you, and you might be saying to yourself, wow, again, I'm hearing from you again. Have grace with them, right? Be intentional about, what do you need right now? Do you need me? How can I help you? Maybe remind you, how do you regulate yourself? Um, just to be a good support system for people. Be kind, right? Because we're all dealing with the same thing here with this pandemic, but it's going to look a little different for everybody, and that's okay. So just encouraging one another to be the best people that we can be during this time is going to be super valuable. And like Dana said, you want to try to find that balance of, okay, I know that I'm drawn to pull on people, and to press into people. What are some ways that I can try to take care of myself? Keep that as an option on the table, right? But make sure that you have other options on there too, that you're not just pressing into people, because it's going to be helpful for you, in this process and just in other things that come up naturally as a part of your life, as a part of being a human being. You want to have some tools in your toolbox to make sure that you can take care of yourself, as well as to help other people. So it'll build good personal relationship with yourself and good personal relationship with others. So it might be frustrating because it's not a direct answer, but just find what works for you and be conscious of what works for other people too. If you can, try to have it be different people that you reach out to, not the same person all the time. Um, and be honest. Have conversations about it. This is frustrating, and I'm trying to find a healthy balance for me. Please let me know if this becomes too much for you, and what can work and what can't work. The healthy communication is always going to be valuable in times like this, instead of feeling like, oh, I just kind of got to swallow this, or I should really lash out here, right? So just opening that door for communication and just being able to talk with each other is going to be super important.
Well said, guys. I thought of another question while we were talking. So, how does spirituality play into this too? Where is our faith as a coping skill for this kind of time? I threw this on them, so we did not discuss this one beforehand. I know for me, I'll give you guys a little minute to think here. I know for me, it's really important that I remember who God is in this moment, and that He is good, and He is, the Bible says that He is all light and there is no darkness in Him. The pandemic is not from God, but God can use it for good. And so we were kind of just saying earlier how interesting it is that the whole world seems to be resetting. And, maybe that's one way that God is using us for good. Animals are going back to habitats that they haven't been in years because they were so overpopulated by people. Different plants and things are growing like they haven't for so long. We were talking about with wearing less makeup and hair products and all this stuff, how good that probably is for our bodies, not have all these chemicals, right? So it is a tough time, and that's valid and real, but maybe there's also a way that God can use it for good. And if we know that He is good and He works for our good, I don't know, that helps me get through a lot of the hard stuff in life.
Mm-hmm. And kind of pulling some things out of what you just said, when I think of self-care even, it's the physical, it's the mental. We typically focus a lot on that, but it's also spiritual. So I know for me, it's like keeping up with doing devotions, or, reading a passage in scripture, or it could be praying. Kind of keeping that routine, or starting a routine even if you don't have a routine. It can be something as simple as 5 minutes, or less. It doesn't have to be a whole, 30-minute, hour-long study. It can be something more simple. But I think when we are in the Word and we're in connection with God, talking to Him daily or multiple times throughout the day, He can help us to really, again, it's going back to the self-care. We're caring for ourselves and doing that. We're able to regulate through that and to, I would say, even de-stress and really put our trust in Him and You know, he can take our burden and, you know, the stuff that we're carrying, so we can put that on him. He can carry it. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I would definitely, for myself, I see it as, obviously, I try to see it every day, and it's tough. I'm a human and I'm flawed. So there's days where I do, and there's days where I don't. I don't see it. What I try to challenge myself to do every day is to be authentic with God. So if I wake up, and I'm just not feeling it that day, as far as His presence goes, or there's something where I just wake up and I hear some sad news, like the reality of some of the nurses in the frontline people who are meeting this pandemic, and they're seeing it, right, and they're putting faces to the names, and I hear about it. I wrestle with God, and I wrestle with Him honestly. God, I don't understand, and I don't get this, but I know that I don't have to, because it's not in my hands. I can be open to being your vessel. Use me how you see fit. But at the end of the day, I'm going to trust that you're God. And it reminded me, Meagan, kind of listening to you. I think it was Lisa Turtle. Is that his name? I think it's in her book, Uninvited. She has those three questions, right? Is God good? Is God good to me? And is God good at being God? So most often, when I do find that I wrestle with things that are kind of, sometimes I just have to rest that they're not meant for me to have an answer to. I remind myself of those three questions, and do I believe those things? And for me, it's an easy no-brainer. Yes, I do. I believe that He's good. I believe He's good at being God, and I believe that He's super good to me. So I try to rest there. And on the days where I feel His presence, I just try to find intentional time to be thankful, and to just rejoice in that feeling of feeling His presence, and just knowing and trusting and resting, I guess, in the fact that I'm known, I'm fully known, and I'm fully loved just as I am. And just continuing to try to kind of press into that relationship in this time, as well as I hope that I do outside of this time as well, when life kind of starts to find a new normal outside of a pandemic. I hope that that's something that I can sustain. So, not that I'm trying to do something crazy now that seems to be just suited for this season and just this time right now. Trying to find a way to cultivate this relationship so that it's meaningful for me moving forward with God. So.